All right, let's think about something kind of scary. What happens to all our money if the internet just goes down? For most of the financial world, it's game over. But for Bitcoin? Well, that's a scenario its designers actually planned for right from the start. So today, we're going to dive into the incredible ways Bitcoin can survive and, yeah, even thrive without the internet. I mean, really picture it for a second. A total global blackout. No internet, that means no scrolling, no streaming, and here's the kicker, no online banking. It's basically a digital apocalypse, right? A scenario that could absolutely bring the entire global financial system to its knees. Yeah, for the traditional financial system, an internet blackout is pretty much a death sentence. All that digital money you have, your credit cards, those payment apps on your phone, they all just become, well, useless pieces of plastic and code. The whole thing just grinds to a complete halt.
Okay, but what if there was a kind of money that didn't actually need the internet to function? This is exactly where Bitcoin just completely flips the script. See, instead of being terrified of an internet outage, the Bitcoin network is literally built to withstand one. It's not a bug, it's a feature, as they say.
The thing is, at its core, the Bitcoin protocol doesn't really care how its data gets around. It just needs a way to move from point A to point B. Think of the internet as this massive, convenient superhighway for Bitcoin transactions. But it's not the only road in town, not by a long shot. There are plenty of other paths to keep the whole thing running. So, what happens when that internet superhighway gets a massive roadblock? Well, Bitcoin looks up. It takes to the skies. And I'm not being metaphorical here. The first line of defense is literally a network of satellites beaming the entire Bitcoin blockchain down to Earth from space. The best way to think about it is like a global, free-to-air TV channel, but just for Bitcoin. All you need is a small satellite dish and you can tune in and download the most up-to-date version of the Bitcoin ledger. And the best part? Zero internet required. Okay, so you can receive the blockchain data from space, that's the downlink, and stay perfectly in sync. But what about sending a transaction? The uplink. That's where it gets really clever. You just need to get your transaction data to a ground station that does have a connection. And as we're about to see, there's some pretty ingenious ways to do that, even when you're completely offline. And this is, frankly, a total game changer. It means that no single entity, whether it's a government or a corporation, can just flip an internet kill switch and shut down Bitcoin. The network has this lifeline from space, a constant, undeniable source of truth that keeps the entire global ledger in sync, no matter what's happening on the ground. Okay, so satellites are great, but what if you're stuck in a total blackout zone? You're completely cut off. How in the world do you get your transaction out to one of those satellite ground stations? Well, this is where Bitcoin gets its boots on the ground. And it's pretty cool, actually. Two almost old-school technologies are making a huge comeback here. First, you've got mesh networks. These create tiny, local, peer-to-peer internets. And second, there's just good old-fashioned long-range radio. So here's how a mesh network transaction works, and it's awesome. You create a transaction on your phone, which is offline. You then use Bluetooth to send it to a little mesh device. From there, your transaction data literally hops from one mesh device to the next across your neighborhood, like a game of digital hopscotch, until it finds a device, a gateway, that has an internet or satellite connection. That's decentralization in action, a network that literally builds itself as needed. And if you think mesh networks are cool, you gotta hear this. The ultimate proof of just how independent this network can be comes from tech that's been around for decades, ham radio. Back in 2019, someone actually sent a Bitcoin transaction from Toronto, Canada, all the way to Michigan in the US using nothing but ham radio. As Nick Szabo put it, it was Bitcoin sent over national border without internet or satellite, just nature's ionosphere. I mean, come on. This little experiment proved something so fundamental about Bitcoin. The protocol itself doesn't care. It can ride on any wave you give it, whether that's a beam of light in a fiber optic cable or a radio signal bouncing off the sky. And the innovation just keeps going. People are even using basic SMS text messages to send Bitcoin transactions. Services like Machinkura let you do this on old-school feature phones. No data plan needed at all. And this stuff isn't just for some doomsday scenario. These low-bandwidth solutions are already bringing Bitcoin access to millions of people in places with limited internet. It just shows you how incredibly creative the community is. So let's step back for a second. When you piece all of this together, the satellites, the radio relays, the local mesh networks, what you're left with is something pretty extraordinary. You have a financial network that is just
almost impossible to shut down.
The key takeaway here is that Bitcoin's protocol is medium agnostic. That's a fancy way of saying it doesn't care what it travels on. I like to think of it like water. It'll always find a path. The internet is the big, easy river, sure, but if that river ever dries up, Bitcoin will just find other streams, other little channels to keep on flowing.
So you end up with this amazing resiliency playbook. Plan A is the internet, obviously. But then you have Plan B, the satellites. Plan C, the local mesh networks. Plan D, long-range radio. You know, traditional finance really only has a Plan A. If that fails, it's a problem. Bitcoin, though, it has a whole alphabet of backup plans. It's like it has a survival instinct built right into its DNA.
And maybe the most incredible part is what happens when the internet does come back on. In traditional banking, it's this huge, messy process with teams of people trying to reconcile databases. It's complicated. With Bitcoin, the nodes just reconnect, they automatically find the longest, valid chain with the most proof of work, and they sync up. The network literally heals itself. No human intervention required. It really makes you think. If a currency is just information, what can truly stop it? The takeaway here is that Bitcoin's resilience isn't just about clever software. It's a multi-layered physical architecture, and it's designed to make sure that as long as any kind of signal can be sent from one place to another, the network survives. It's way more than just code. It's an idea that's proven to be incredibly hard to stop.